Hey everybody, it's Amy Berger here again for another round of talking sense and sanity about keto and low carb diets. Thanks for joining me, and thanks so much for all the comments you leave. Thank you for subscribing. Again, as a reminder, I can't keep up with the comments, so if you have a question or a comment that you absolutely have to make sure that I see, or if it's a question that really requires an answer from me personally, feel free to send me an email. It's tuitnutrition, Tuit nutrition @gmail.com. All right, on to business. Today I want to talk to you about a concept that I call the information vacation. So to start things off, let me paint you a portrait of an excerpt from a typical type email that I get. This is kind of representative of comments that I hear from prospective clients who write to me. You know, they'll start off with their spiel and tell me about themselves and what they're doing, and then they launch into, Dr. So-and-so said on his podcast that blah, 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 but then this nutritionist wrote on her blog such and such, but then I was at the low carb event in such and such state, and this practitioner said so-and-so, and then on the YouTube I saw this other thing. We call that paralysis by analysis, right? People are so overwhelmed, not just with total information, but in the context of keto and low carb, particularly with conflicting information, right? Information that contradicts what somebody else said or that doesn't make sense based on your previous understanding. I am not kidding you when I say that I can feel the anxiety radiating out of these emails. I can feel the tension coming out of the screen. That's how bad it is. And I don't blame anybody. Believe me, I understand why it's happening. I may have mentioned this in a previous video, but because keto and low carb are so popular now, and that's great. It's great that they're so popular, but because they're so popular, there's a huge tsunami of information. And unfortunately, if you're new to this, and even if you're not so new, to be honest, this happens to me sometimes, when there's so much information, it's hard to separate the true, reliable, actionable scientific information versus the fluff nonsense. And so if you feel totally overwhelmed and confused and conflicted and maybe even a little bit scared, but certainly frustrated and like at the end of your rope because of all this conflicting, contradictory information, take a breath. I recommend for you, if I was a doctor, I would prescribe for you an information vacation. And it is exactly what it sounds like. I recommend taking a break from keto and low carb information, whatever your source or sources are. It could be a blog, it could be Facebook, it could be Twitter, it could be Reddit, it could be YouTube. Take a break. 24 hours, 48 hours, 72, 96, take a week. Find another hobby. I'll link to a blog post that I actually wrote about this exact concept where I kind of explain this a little better, but if you spend all your waking moments diving into low carb and keto and the science and the pathways and the recipes and the ins and outs and the comments and you feel trapped by it, take a break. It's okay to take a break. This way of eating is supposed to enhance your life. It's supposed to make your life better. It's supposed to make your mental and emotional health better. And I really, truly see in a lot of people that it's going the other way. They're getting so stressed out and so anxious over all the details, most of which are totally unnecessary, that it actually begins to work against their mental and emotional health. And it's totally okay to step away for a few days. Reconnect with some other hobby or skill that you've sort of let atrophy or that you've neglected all these months or years that you've been eating this way. Maybe it's architecture or sewing or some kind of craft or even hiking or whatever it is, playing a musical instrument, learning a foreign language, some other like personal enrichment method that you could get back to, or start learn a new language, or pick up a new skill, a new hobby, and get your mind off this keto stuff. I was actually on the phone with somebody earlier, and we had a discussion about this. She was kind of like feeling really overwhelmed by trying to keep up with every latest podcast and blog post and Twitter, and what am I going to miss? What did he post? What did she say? What's that argument going on over there? Um, and I sort of had to bring her back to a central reality, and I said, okay, how long have you been doing this keto stuff? And she'd been doing it about 2 years. So, she's not brand new, but she hasn't been doing it forever. But I said, okay, how, not so much when you were new, but recently, within the last several weeks or months, when was the last time you read or listened to something that was so mind blowing and so radically different from everything you knew up to that point that it caused you to make a fundamental change in what you're doing? In what you're eating, how much you're eating, when you're eating, what have you. When was the last time you heard or learned something that truly rocked your keto world to the point that if you had missed it, the earth would have shattered? And her answer was never. And it only took her a second. She had to think about it, but her answer was never. And I said, I asked you the question because I knew that was going to be your answer. And by you hearing yourself say out loud that you've never really learned anything, or at least within the last several weeks or months, you've never learned anything that was so just radically different from what you knew previously, that you would have been afraid to miss it. So I said, the reason you haven't learned anything that world changing is because there isn't anything. And I'm not saying that there's never ever going to be some big overnight breakthrough world changing factoid that comes out. Maybe there will be. But generally these things come little by little. Our perspectives change, our paradigms change. My own thinking about how this diet works and how to implement it properly has certainly shifted and changed over the years. The fundamental principles are the same, but there's been little changes on the periphery, certainly. But nothing that I would have, been at a huge loss if I had learned it 2 or 3 days later than the day I learned it, or 2 or 3 weeks or months later. So one of the beautiful things about the internet is that for the most part, unless somebody takes something down or deletes or removes something, whatever you miss over the course of the day or week that you take an information vacation, it's going to be there waiting for you when you come back. The blog post will still be up, the video will still be watchable, the podcast will still be downloadable. None of this disappears. And if it does disappear, it was probably erroneous or garbage in the first place, and somebody took it down because, oh, you know what? I said that thing that was inaccurate, let me take that down and re-record some other time. Or, hey, that blog post, that's not true anymore, or that study was retracted. If it's taken down for a reason, so you probably didn't miss anything anyway. Again, I just want to sort of emphasize that if you fall into this category where you're so overwhelmed and anxious, not just about keeping up with it all, but about trying to reconcile it all, trying to say, well, how come there's all these people that are eating no vegetables? They're only eating meat, the carnivores, right? But then there's a brilliant PhD researcher who insists that we have to feed the gut with fiber and legumes and leafy greens and fermented foods and probiotics. And this guy over there wants us to have our genes tested for methylation and for this and that. And if that is making your keto world small and scary and claustrophobic, and step out of it. Step out of the keto box and go do something else for a few days. It's okay. Everything will be waiting for you when you come back. And if there's something that is that radically paradigm changing that comes out one day overnight, you will find out about it. I mean, somehow you'll find out. And if you do take an information vacation, how you would implement it depends on what your social media outlets of choice are. I would recommend turning off notifications on your phone. I don't even have notifications on my phone whatsoever. I just check in manually. If I want to check my Twitter, I go to twitter.com on my computer, or I use the app on my phone. I don't really use Reddit or Facebook at all. I use Facebook Messenger. I do leave messages I post on Facebook when I have a new blog post that I want to tell people about, or when I have a new video, because for better or worse, Facebook is still where most people are, and I do get a lot more traffic when I post to Facebook, so I use it for that, but I don't have any of those notifications on my phone, so there's no constant bleeping or buzzing in the corner of my eye. Even if there was, it can wait. All those notifications can wait. So I recommend heartily an information vacation. And not everybody needs to do this. If you love keeping up with this stuff and you can't wait to learn the newest tidbit or to discover some new facet that you didn't know previously, that's great. Like anything, whether it's over-exercising or over-indulging or under-doing anything, find the balance that's right for you. If learning about keto and learning all these biochemical pathways and stuff enriches your life and brings you joy and pleasure, keep doing it. But if that described you at one point and now it's overwhelming and it's a chore and it's a task and you feel burdened by it, you feel like you have to keep up with everything, you don't. You absolutely don't. You can take a break, even if that means taking a break from my channel and my blog. These videos will still be there when you come back. My blog post will still be there when you come back. I would hate for you to take an information vacation from my channel, but I'm the one recommending that you step away if you need to. So if that's what you need to do, so be it. But just know that it's okay. You're not the only one who's totally overwhelmed and who's like aggravated by all the voices coming in that say different things. You're not the only one, and it's okay to ignore it and to tune it out for however long you decide to do that. As always, thanks for watching, and if you want to reach me, like I said, shoot me an email at 2itnutrition.com. My website is, that was 2itnutrition@gmail.com is my email. My website and blog is 2itnutrition.com. Thanks for watching, everybody.